Hi, friends. Welcome to the Mobile Bev Pros podcast, a podcast dedicated to providing mobile bar and event professionals with the information they need to succeed. I'm your host, business coach, and founder of the Mobile Bar Academy, Sarah Murphy. In each episode, the Mobile Bev Pros team will bring you industry experts, information, anecdotes, and opinions with the goal of assisting you in building a profitable, sustainable, and successful business that supports you in creating wealth. I'm excited to share with you today's episode, so let's get started. So this podcast is probably going to be a slightly different format than the ones that we've done in the past. And this is unscripted, obviously. None of our stuff is ever scripted, but we generally go into it with kind of like, okay, we're going to have a conversation around this thing. In this particular episode, people are going to get a little peek into kind of how we work. And I have a concept or a thought that is in development. And this is the process that we typically go through to help refine that thought into something that has context and clarity. And if people have been following my Instagram this week, they've also been part of this process because I've been sharing as things come up. And specifically what I'm talking about today is luxury. And I'm going to rewind a little bit. I posted something to our social media. It was like a clip of me saying mobile bars are a luxury service. And then it was a little bit about, but do they even know what luxury is? And how it's really hard to speak to a luxury market and to the luxury buyer if you've never actually experienced luxury, right? It's hard to know what people want or what they're looking for if you yourself have never experienced that thing or have never been exposed to that thing. So in true Sarah nature, what I decided to do was exercise my second greatest superpower and learn a thing or two about that, right? So the minute I said, do the people who get into this industry as mobile bar operators understand the language of luxury? Do they understand the culture of luxury? And I think it was pretty easy after talking to a number of our group coaching clients and then the academy members, the answer was no. So I went about trying to figure out, well, how do I teach the fundamentals so that they can feel more comfortable speaking to these people and attracting these people, marketing to these people, executing in a way that is in alignment with what these people would expect. And you know what I learned is that mobile bars are not a luxury service. So I have to eat my words a little bit there, but perhaps it'd be better to outline what the various different markets are. If you follow me on Instagram, I went a little bit deeper into that in a message last week, but there are 5 general market tiers. The first market tier is budget. It's pretty easy to kind of understand what a budget bartending company would look like. They probably are just offering standard bar services. It's probably hourly. Maybe they do shopping services for things, but maybe not. They're looking for the lowest price point, essentially, and they're trying to be affordable. The next one doesn't have a real good name, in my opinion, but the ones that come up the most in my research is mid-range, affordable luxury, value luxury. This particular part of the market has a focus on quality, accessibility. They have some more service offerings, so you're probably including packages and equipment rental options, that sort of thing. And then we reach up into premium. Now, premium is where most of the mobile bars either strive to be or currently live. And the premium space offers those bespoke options. So maybe like higher end ingredients, maybe the dehydrated citrus wheels as garnishes. They might have rentals that offer additional experiences like champagne walls or any sort of like add-on that makes it super special, premium. Then there's 2 other tiers, luxury and ultra luxury. Everything I've learned about luxury is not even a viable long-term strategy for most every single mobile bar owner that's getting started. And I have a number of thoughts on why this is. The first of which has to do with where most mobile bar owners come from. Most people are bootstrapping their mobile bar business. And that makes it really hard to launch into the luxury market, wherein you'd have to have not only relationships, but the ability to kind of do whatever is asked at a super high level. And that's generally not where people kind of come into the market. Here I've been all this time saying that mobile bars are luxury services. I think I was misusing the term luxury, is what I think ultimately I was getting at, in that it is a luxury to have a mobile bartender at your event. It is not a luxury service. And there's this book that I've been reading. It's an older book, actually, The Luxury Strategy, and it is by J.N. Capferer and V. Bastian. It's a UK book. And I just want to give a couple of the anti-laws of marketing. And I think it'll be easy for people to understand why it'd be really hard to be a luxury service if these are like the rules of luxury, right? The first one is forget about positioning. Luxury is not comparative. So that's okay. I get that, right? Just you be you. And you don't have to position yourself or compare yourself to anybody. I was on board. Okay. The second one is, does your product have enough flaws? And I was like, tell me more. And it goes on to say that it has to be like completely handcrafted, and everything about it has to be people. So no automations, no standardization, really. Everything's handcrafted. So like you're doing everything with the fallibility of humans. And
So
that's,
like art,
yeah, like
like
art.
art.
And if you get one cocktail that's better than the other, that's part of our charm, yo. That's just how it goes. The third is do not pander to your customers' wishes. Okay, I can kind of get on board with that too, because like you are who you are, you're driving, they'll take you as you want.
That's giving the niche coaches that are like my people, who are like,
Mhm.
everything is done so simply and by hand. It is what
Right.
it is. Like it gives all of that.
So it gets even more like that. It's called the anti-laws of marketing. Number four is keep non-enthusiasts out. You don't love this shit? Get out of here. I don't care. No space for you here. Do not respond to rising demand. That's it. There are 7 of these. If I could sell 100 of them, there's still only 7. Sucks for you. Number 6, dominate the client. Luxury is a consequence of meritocracy, once the exclusive privilege of the aristocracy. Luxury today is what re-stratifies our so-called classless societies, but on the basis of merit, no longer simply on birth. So everyone is looking for ways to haul themselves up. Luxury brands are at the same time a reward and a token of gradual elevation. To preserve the status, the brand must always dominate the client.
So Sarah, I see what you're saying, because this is like the opposite of like literally everything that we teach everywhere, anywhere, or that
Right?
anyone is teaching. Like any coach that you go to, any like mentor that's teaching you to I get it. It was the anti-laws of marketing.
Yeah.
And wow, they really meant that.
Number 19 of the anti-laws, do not hire consultants. Okay. Okay, bye.
This is giving artisan. I mean, it is. It's giving artisan, which I
Yeah, it's
love. I'm so passionate about the arts and like full self-expression.
yeah.
And I do understand how, in a lot of, especially if what you're going to do is going to be art, there's no better word. It's going to be art. You can't take on the feedback from someone and that genius still come through clearly. And
Mhm.
so I totally get this from a genius perspective.
Yep.
And it's like crushing everything we do
Um,
in at a business level.
yeah. Number 20 is do not test. Luxury companies don't test amongst customers. Do not look for consensus is number 21. 22, do not look after group synergies. Do not look for cost reduction. Period.
I think that my first coach wrote this book, or she read this book before she created her company.
She might have. Number 15 is do not sell. It says this isn't arrogance, not at all. The luxury strategy is the very opposite of the volume strategy.
Also in human design, this is a projector's dream,
Oh, yeah.
right? It's funny to me too that they have to give you the laws in the negative. They have to give them to you in the antimatter. They can't give them to you in the matter. They're not telling you what to do because
Right,
that would impose on genius. They're literally just telling you what not to do.
right, right. Raise your prices as time goes on in order to increase demand, which is like luxury sets the price. Price does not set the luxury. Money is not a good way of categorizing objects or of stratifying them unless it has been culturally coded. This anti-law means that luxury is what could be called a supply-based marketing.
Okay. It's been like 3 weeks that you've been in the luxury. How long has it been that you've just like dove back into it?
Yeah, it's about 3 weeks. And like I already mentioned, like why this started was because I have been steeped in luxury. And that was not, I didn't come from a luxurious background. I didn't come from money. As a matter of fact, I came from the opposite of money. I mean, I worked my way through life. And what better place to get jobs than where rich people need people to serve them? So I just inherently happen to work in a lot of luxury spaces. I worked in the Hamptons for 8 years. I worked in LA for a hot minute at the Sofitel, which is a pretty nice hotel down there. I worked at the Willard Intercontinental in DC for a couple of years, which is a luxury hotel. Actually, we did a walkthrough of the lobby when we were in DC together. And I think the beauty made you cry. It is still a stunning architectural space. And so when you're in spaces like that, you have to know how to behave. And that's kind of what I started down this rabbit hole, wanting to figure out how to create the words and the framework to share that with others. And you and I played back and forth with the concept of language. The words that we use in the luxury spaces are much different. How we speak, you had started looking into eloquence, which is being concise and word choice. But then after doing the research, I realized that the closest that we're going to get in the mobile bar space to luxury with what we do. I'm not saying there isn't a person out there that you could call who could create an amazing experience for an event that includes bar service and have absolutely custom cocktails and like ice and like all the details. Those people don't own mobile bar companies. They are, to your point, artists. They are craftsmen of what we do. The minute you have a mobile bar company and you operate and you do things like weddings on a regular basis or corporate events on a regular basis, you are no longer a luxury service. You're a premium service, which, okay, cool. I can absolutely support and guide people in the premium space because premium borrows from luxury. They're the closest neighbor to luxury. So they are basically saying, what can we borrow from luxury that is available to the masses? And that's kind of where we live. That's where we have very effectively built our curriculum, where we guide people when they're building their client journeys. The luxury space is a whole other beast. It is basically if you took the entire academy and everything we teach and you do not that, you might have a chance in luxury.
We'd have to teach the opposite of everything, including the fact that we're teaching. Don't listen to us.
That's right. That's right. Don't listen to us. We only have frameworks for you. That's not going to get it done. Yeah. So if I was to ponder what luxury looks like for someone in this mobile bar space, which honestly wouldn't be really all that worth the time, I think, of the people listening to the podcast because it's not recreatable. Anything I say would be from my perspective of genius. If I was to create a look, right, which is nobody else is going to be looking through that perspective to create a luxury. The first thing that you would do, that wasn't edited wrong. I literally just went from one thought to the next. The first thing I would do is I would focus entirely on relationships. I would potentially not even have an Instagram. Like, why? Because I would be connecting with people in order to communicate the potential and the possibility. The one thing that's very clear in this book is that luxury is about the dream. And you cannot communicate the dream through marketing. And that's one of the things they say. One of the stories they tell is about like BMW created a bunch of like 5-minute movies and release them on the internet, and like they were an instant hit, but they don't sell you anything. They're not like now leasing for 797 at they're not selling anything. They're just welcoming you into the dream. And they've built a very strong community of people who are diehard BMW fans, whether they own a BMW or not. Like, obviously, the dream is to own the BMW. And he even goes on to say, I think I highlighted it. It was one of those things where I was just like, are you kidding me? The dream must always be recreated and sustained, for reality kills the dream. Every time flesh and blood human beings buy a luxury product or service, they destroy a little bit of the equity. They increase the product's visibility and contribute to its vulgarization by putting it in the public eye.
Okay, I have a couple of things to say here. One, that's so sexy. Why is this the sexiest thing I've ever heard? Okay, and the other thing that I have to say is that the beginning of this, you were saying you were pontificating around what it would look like if you were to go out and start a luxury mobile bar service. I want to let people know when we talk about genius, it is your unique blueprint. If you could take your unique essence and boil it down, that's what we're calling genius. And that's why we're saying it can't be in a framework. We can't give you a wireframe for that because it's birthed through you. Only you can do it. You said, I wouldn't have an Instagram. I found a bag company one time when I was researching luxury that I cannot to this day, I don't even know that they exist if I ever even found them. This bag company does not do online sales. They don't have any social media. And I could only find websites about them. Like they don't have a website because you have to go to their store, and there's only one, and it's in like France, to purchase their bags. First of all, their bags are hideous. They're not even pretty bags. They're very expensive bags, but part of what they do is they have that exclusivity through being not known, right? Like their name is not a name. It's not like if I say to you Prada or Gucci, it's not a name you're going to recognize. I'd never heard it before. That's luxury, right? They're like, you have to come to me and pay me thousands of dollars. And you had to hear through the grapevine that I even exist because we're not marketing to you, right? Like you don't see Rolls Royce commercials.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. Earlier in this book, he talks about how luxury is timeless. And so if it's trendy, if it is like the bags are hideous, oh, well, hideousness might actually be what makes them timeless because they will just always be ugly. You know what I mean? And so you can just count on the fact that's a timeless look because it'll never be in style. And styles change. And so if that bag was the style that people would buy now, they wouldn't buy it in 10 years, and then they'd have to update everything like every other company has to update their molds and the patterns that they're creating and potentially even the what they're creating with, right?
These were very bland. And so that absolutely supports your point because they would go with absolutely everything. What is it that you call it? Quiet luxury?
Hmm.
Like you wouldn't know. You would be sitting next to that bag and you'd have no idea that it costs more than your car.
Right. And so the concept there of quiet luxury is that nobody else needs to know. So they talk about that in this book. There's two parts to luxury. There's the luxury for you and there's the luxury for other people. And the fact that like you are carrying a $5,000 bag, you don't need anyone else to know that because luxury for you is something that just brings you such an immense amount of joy that it doesn't matter what other people think. And it's not even supposed to be convenient. It's not supposed to be something that is, I will use this all the time because this is something that is useful. That's the opposite. And they talk about how luxury cars are super uncomfortable, but they're fast. You know what I mean? Like they could be both for the amount that you're paying for them. They could be both. But the fact that they're uncomfortable is part of that flaw that makes them who they are. And so everybody who drives like this really expensive type of car, they know it's like super uncomfortable to drive in, but they still own it. They still pay all this money for it, right? It's a flaw that makes it what it is, which is just so fascinating.
This is so yummy, and I think what really lands for me is that when you go from flashy luxury, which is really just premium clients punching up into luxury, right? That there's a change in mentality because when I hear you talk about quiet luxury, the most delicious aspect of all of that is that they've removed the need for external validation, and I can't think of a more superior consciousness, not that any consciousness is superior, that's not what I'm saying, but if there were levels, I can't think of a more superior consciousness than, like, not needing anyone else's validation, approval, attention, and just enjoying this art that you have.
Exactly. And the author goes out of his way numerous times to mention that if you're investing in luxury for the show, that's snobbery, not luxury. And I love that distinction. It's a really dense book. It's not very big, but it is dense. And they start off with the history of luxury and they kind of walk you through all of it. I'm not very far into it, but what I do know is that I do not know luxury. I mean, I have worked in luxury spaces. It said something about that it's important to distinguish between people who have luxurious taste and those with a taste for luxury. Because if you identify yourself as someone who has luxurious taste, you just spend money to say that you have luxurious things, then you've lost the whole point of luxury. You can have a taste for luxury, meaning that you are selective in what you select. That's the luxury of it. If you can just buy lots of things and everything you buy is luxury class, then you're not really enjoying it. And luxury is all about pleasure.
This is
Yeah.
really interesting because I see things in colors and tones, and when I'm hearing you talk about this, I'm seeing, like, open, breezy rooms, everything's, like, open and spacious, and I get the same vibe when I think about not needing external validation and not doing things to be flashy or attention grabbing. This brings up so many things for me that I think is absolutely beautiful. I know that we didn't intend for this podcast to be like a personal aha moment, but, like, this is the first time you've told me about these anti-laws that you're reading, and it's landing. Like, people are, like, real time listening to me have, like, a this massive realization, but I am, and I see it so clearly, and I understand. I hope our listeners can feel the difference too between that premium buyer who I am. Like, I'm somebody, I have a taste for luxury. I just want luxurious shit all the time, right? And then I have to purge my house because I'm like, why do I have so much stuff? You know? And, like, the goal is that beautiful, like, not needing flashy things and not needing a house full of stuff, but having really been intentional and selective with your money, your attention, your energy, like, all those resources.
Yeah. I think you're really going to love when you go through this book because it really does talk about luxury birthed consumerism, but it is not consumerism. And so, like, the dream of luxury for people is what creates this desire to consume, consume, consume to like achieve that sense of luxury because we associate luxury with having. And what he really is getting to is that luxury is about being.
Oh my
I know.
god, Sarah!
I
Dude, I love
know.
this so much. Why is this the most spiritually adept podcast conversation we've ever had?
I know. I know. I literally was like, Donna's going to love that. Luxury is about being for oneself and for others, not about having. The key word when it comes to luxury is dream, not envy. The other thing I want to say about this thing of premium versus luxury is that the amount of discontent when you think you're buying something that's luxury and what you get is premium, or if what you think you are buying is premium, but what you actually receive is luxury. We hired a consultant at the end of last year. It was very expensive. And that consultant showed up as a luxury product. But what they were selling was a premium product. Like they were selling, you're going to get a strategy, you're going to get a one on one call, you're going to get like all of these things. And what we actually got was how I would envision a luxury coach showing up in that they just kind of peppered some thoughts around and was like, good luck. So like if I was
Yeah.
buying a luxury product, I'd be buying the dream, I'd be buying access, I'd be buying the luxury of being in that person's presence, I'd be buying the emotions that I received from that interaction. I wouldn't be expecting a tangible checklist strategy, access, that sort of thing, right? And so, because there was an inconsistency between what was being sold and what was delivered, I was unhappy. Now, had it been sold as a luxury product and I paid the exact same amount of money for it, I probably would have felt absolutely amazing about that engagement.
The piece that you said about the keywords being the dream and not envy. I think the dream is something that is it's self-realized. Again, going back to that genius factor, it's something that like comes up from within you. When you have a dream, it's usually unique to you. And a lot of people have I'm saying dreams with quotation marks, but they're actually just comparative models to what other people have. So they see
Mhm.
how someone else is successful and they say, that could be my model of success. And thus we go out and we buy flashy stuff to impress our friends. We are not luxury, we are premium. And we are yelling that to the world. And it's because we need someone to say, wow, I really like that Gucci bag. Right. And the Gucci bag wasn't for us, it was for the ladies at the church. You know what I mean? And that's envy. I see the difference there. And I know I kind of skipped over what you said about the coach that we hired, but yeah, I can see how we were really both of us were like, "What did we get? What did we get from that?" We got, like, one piece of advice, and I can see how if he was selling himself as a luxury consultant, I think we would have expected that. I mean, now that I'm really looking at it, I've worked with a plethora of luxury consultants, and that's how they show up. There's very little structure, there's very little automation, everything is hand done, all containers are bespoke, and I love that model, and I understand how disjointed it is when you try to bring that to the masses.
It's all about setting an expectation and then delivering or exceeding on that expectation. And I think the reason I'm pointing that out here in this conversation is that if we are to truly understand and understand what luxury is, that it's a dream, that it is a concept, and that the minute that concept is made tangible, it deprecates the dream, like then if we are to sell one thing and deliver another, there's going to be unhappiness. And luxury almost has to stay the dream. Anything that can be a social signifier can become a luxury. By the same token, anything that ceases to be a social signifier loses its luxury status.
Will you expand on that?
Yeah. So the example that he gives is that once upon a time, having a pool in your backyard was like, wow, look at that rich person with a pool in their backyard. That was a luxurious amenity. But then they became more popular, it became more accessible for people to have pools in their backyard. And so it stopped being a signifier of luxury.
This podcast has been so enlightening. This is absolutely glorious. So, Sarah, this for me is really landing, and I wonder if it's landing for our listeners. Obviously, I'm taking this very personally because it's so intimate for my path. And so I hope that somebody on the other end of this is like, wow, this is really eye opening because this has been one of my favorite episodes so far.
Honestly, if at the end of this episode, people are left asking themselves, what did I even just hear? That's okay too. This was an experiment to see if people would enjoy watching the sausage be made, for lack of a better term. This is how I process large quantities of information before I package them all up really beautifully and cohesively and coherently for teaching. And sometimes I get halfway into creating something and realize I need to pivot because my understanding of that thing was absolutely incorrect or it isn't suitable for the industry that I'm leading. But more so than anything, what I want people to take away from this is that Mobile Bev Pros is actively and always staying relevant. And I mean that on all levels, in that as the industry changes and grows, as the market shifts, as we have to teach people how to be even more relevant and competitive in what people love to say are oversaturated markets. Like, we're doing the legwork, we're doing the learning, we're doing the research to bring the best and most accurate and most beneficial information to the people in this particular industry. And so this was kind of a little bit of a peek and a preview into what that looks like. I know that a lot of coaches are out there saying, I work 4 hours a week, and you can do that too, and just create a product and put it on the line, and then it's passive income and you make money in your sleep. And that's probably true for all of those people. But for me, learning and teaching is my passion. It is my goal, my contribution, my genius to offer the world. And that doesn't look like creating a product and then just letting that sit in the world and making money in my sleep. It means constantly learning and growing and stretching and figuring out better ways to digest that information, to teach that information, and to make it valuable and usable to the community that invests in us. And so this was just a little behind the scenes look as to that process.
And potentially a little forward look as to what may be coming, right? We've sort of dropped this into the accelerator for the group coaching clients. This all came about because you wanted to support people in elevating who they're showing up in front of, their client experience, so that they can have premium buyers. And that was always your goal, was to help elevate the industry and elevate the experience that your client is going to go through so that your mobile bar becomes successful and it's something that people aspire to have at their events, right? And so this might be a program of sorts that people can take to help elevate their client experience. Is it too
Yes.
soon to say?
No, it's not too soon. You know what? No rules for this podcast. So, yes, all of this research that I've been doing was originally intended to be part of here are the guidelines to being a luxury mobile bar service. I think, in short, too long didn't read, luxury is a buzzword that is overused and understood. So I don't necessarily know that luxury still holds the same meaning as what we've just kind of discussed. As a concept, it is a vast word. As a buzzword used in the industry for luxury events, still applicable. And we'll probably shift our verbiage because when you know better, you do better. But that doesn't mean that the concept for which I was learning all of this has changed. And the program that is being developed is a client journey workshop, because the impact of having a cohesive and intentional client journey from very first contact, when they first become aware of you as a business, all the way through offboarding after the event and then into a retention strategy. When you think through every single client touch point and you think very clearly through what at every touch point would you like the client to know, do, and believe, and you create that system, and system feels very mechanical, but it's more of an experience, right? That you intentionally develop and design the experience you want your client to have at every touch point, you will become unstoppable, unbeatable. You will have raving fans. Everyone will want to work with you. And that's the process that I've been creating, is the workshop and how to walk people through the process of creating that for their business. And the benefits of this are immense. Obviously, your social proof will go through the roof. You will have clarity around what your clients want to hear and know through your messaging at every step. You'll know what to put on your website. You'll know what to put in your client contacts. So if whether you're meeting for a meeting or you are getting a questionnaire, you'll know exactly what to include, what to ask, what to communicate, and what to do, mainly because you've thought through with such intentionality through every single client touch point. And so we will be hosting a workshop on this. It will be released very shortly because we're in the process of finalizing the last few details, such as location and date. The schedule is already worked out. And so if any of this is interesting to people, then we're going to take a slightly more luxurious approach to this. You're going to have to ask for it. We're going to let everyone know that it exists, but it's not going to be a click here, buy now type thing. It's a very small and intimate group because my hands and eyes are going to be very much on your business and in your business. And so I think we're going to max it out at 12 people, which is smaller than any other gathering that we've done. And it will be here in Nashville. And so, yeah, we'll release more information on that soon. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. And if you're interested, go ahead and email us hello@mobilebevpros.com so that we can make sure that you are one of the first to know when details land. This has been profound, and I'm so excited about this episode. And thanks for having me on. And thanks for taking me on your journey. All the things that you learn, I get to benefit from, as does the entire industry, right? So thanks so much, Sarah.
And that wraps up today's episode. I hope it was valuable. I would love to hear from you what you thought. You can drop me a line at hello@mobilebevpros.com or find me on Instagram at mobilebevpros. If you're looking for more valuable mobile bar related content, we have a website full of it. You can find us at www.mobilebevpros.com. And I'd love to see you in our Facebook community, also by the name of, you guessed it, Mobile Bev Pros. Thank you for joining me today, and until next time, cheers.